This video is all about headstands and handstands. I wanted to give you a few little tips to hopefully make them both feel a lot easier. I use the same tips to help me in my headstand as I do for my handstand, but your body will be in slightly different positions for both. These are some of the tips that help me deadlift into my headstand and my handstand, so hopefully you're going to find one or two that are useful for you as well. Stack your hips on top of your shoulders as much as possible. A really nice way to do this is to set yourself up in your headstand or handstand position and walk your feet in as close to your body as possible. You can bend through the knees if you need to as well, but try to keep your hips high. If I try to lift in a position where my hips are really far away from my shoulders, it's really hard. Whereas if I try to lift from a position where my hips are really stacked over my shoulders or as close as possible, then that's so much easier. Lifting with one leg straight. Set yourself up for your headstand or handstand and lift one leg up super straight as high as possible. The more flexible you are, the easier this one's going to be, but don't worry if you can't lift that leg very high. Pull with the arms in the headstand or pull with the top arm and push with the bottom arm in the handstand. Keep the straight leg moving up as high as possible as you bring your hips over your shoulders, and just allow the leg that's on the floor to bend. So I think about my straight leg helping my hips come in line with my shoulders, and my bottom leg just lifts a teeny tiny bit off of the floor by bending this foot to the bum. Once you're stacked and you feel like you're balanced, you can then straighten out both legs. Bunny hops. Bunny hops are a really nice way of getting used to taking your feet off of the floor. You can start your bunny hops while your hips are quite far away from the pole, and all you're doing is trying to kick yourself in the bum with your feet. As soon as you get used to this position, you want to try to get your hips as high as possible. If your hips stay far away from the pole or far away from your shoulders, it will be so much harder to lift. So as you think about kicking your feet towards your bum, pull with the arm that's on the pole to help you lift your hips over your shoulders, and hopefully you'll get to a point where your bunny hop starts to balance and you can come into your handstand. Slides. You can do this one in socks or you can do this one by standing on a cloth. Set yourself up with your feet a little bit further away from the pole than you would usually want to lift from. Think about using your core to help you lift your hips. You want to keep your legs super straight and slide your legs in towards your body as you lift your hips. And as soon as you can't lift any further, which is usually due to flexibility, that's when you want to start to lift your legs up as high as possible. When I do this one in a headstand, I actually like to do this one from lying down on the floor so I can use my cloth or my socks to slide my feet in. The legs stay super straight as the head comes to the floor, the hips lift as high as possible, and when the legs come as close to my face as possible, then I open my legs out into a straddle. Lifting off of a block. It may take a few attempts to figure out where is best to put your blocks, but if you stand on a block and then rise to the tiptoes, it will help you stack your hips over your shoulders, and then you'll be able to lift much easier from a higher position. Try to control your landing as much as possible by either coming back to the blocks or coming down to the floor if the blocks have moved or are too far away from you. It's a bit trickier to do this from a headstand position, as your blocks are going to be a little bit wider as your body needs to sit between the blocks to start your headstand. Again, as you come down, try to land on the blocks and then you can step down to the floor. Negatives. If you can get yourself into your headstand or handstand, negatives are a fantastic way of building up strength. For your headstand, you can lower down in a straddle, so take your legs super wide and bring them down to the floor. This one is tricky. For me, the trick was to open the legs as wide as possible and then keep the pelvis tucking under. So imagine that your butt is glued to the pole, and then imagine that your lower back is glued to the pole as your leg starts to come down low. It is tricky to do this, so you'll find that you go a little bit too fast to start with, but it will get easier and easier. You can knee tuck from your headstand or handstand by keeping your legs together and bringing your knees in towards your chest. Try to stay tucked for as long as possible before landing on your feet. You can also do a pike, which you can't really do in a headstand if your butt's against the pole. For your pike, keep your legs super straight. You have to let your bum come back past the pole so that your feet come forwards. As your feet start to come past your hips, your butt can naturally start to move a little bit further forward and control the landing to the feet. My personal favourite way of lifting into a headstand or a handstand is to lift through a straddle, but there are so many different ways you can do them as well. As I try to lift, I think about bringing my hips over my shoulders as much as I can. In my headstand, I stay strong and push through my shoulders as much as possible, and in the handstand, I pull with the arm on the pole and push with the arm on the floor. The core stays engaged throughout and really helps you to lift up. The thing that helped me was bringing my legs as close to my body as possible, and as soon as I'm as close to my face as possible with those feet, I take my feet really wide really quickly and lift into a straddle. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below which your favourite little exercise or little tip is.